Welcome back, guys. We are here with round 4 from the Cannes special event, and we have an interesting special guest, a very well-known player from Brazil, Gustavo Wada, who came all the way over here. And yeah, he's currently 3-0, facing against a player from France, Camille, someone I personally know. And yeah, he's 3-0 as well, so I'm hoping for an interesting match here.
It's interesting. I think he might not have flown from Brazil. He might just have landed on his way back to Australia, doing a quick stop here in
Gustavo
France.
actually played multiple European tournaments lately, so I wonder if he's actually having like maybe a university term in Europe or something like that.
Yeah, I think that it might be that flying to the US is almost as expensive as flying to Europe if you plan in advance, and he decides to go to these European tournaments who are a bit smaller and maybe easier. So
and it's certainly interesting for us to have a player from Brazil and from with his caliber over here. And we see his prizes, we see a Founder Mountain there, we see an Absol, a Jirachi. I'm not sure what the rainbow on the quite far left is. It might be a Tapu Koko, it might be something like a Zoroark. I would assume, actually, since there's a Marshadow with the prizes as well, we don't usually see that in the Zapdos deck, so I assume something with more GX.
And it looks like they're looking for a judge, maybe asking whether they can start the round or not.
There might be some confusion about the time. They do have a separate timer, so I am ready to start it as soon as they are finished. Okay, they're shaking hands and there goes the timer. Okay, and it's so I see an Eevee in Gustavo's hand, so he's playing a Lightning Toolbox.
Yeah, we have another Lightning Toolbox on stream.
And he opens with Faulkner, which is a supporter that you usually don't use in the first turn. If you can, a turn 1 Lily is always optimal because it's just so strong in the first turn. But of course, a Faulkner gets you an energy and an item, and with those Zapdos decks you don't really need much more. And
there's an Eevee going for Energy Evolution.
And this will become a Jolteon GX. Jolteon GX is quite the interesting tech card. It's not quite as powerful as other cards like Pikachu, Zekrom, or maybe Tapu Koko GX, but it's also quite a versatile card. Its first attack does 30 damage and 30 to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon, so that's pretty good to set up some easy knockouts, and it's easy to get out. It only takes very little energy. For 2 energies it can deal 110. The GX attack gives it 1 turn of immunity, so it can be pretty nice, and mainly it just doesn't need much. Also, there are Vileplume decks which have been very strong in Japan just last weekend, and this Jolteon can be added to this deck to make this matchup quite winnable. Actually, a good matchup from auto loss. Well, on the other side we see Camille. He is opening with Valela, and he seems to play a Zoroark deck. Actually, he definitely plays a Zoroark deck. And he already has a Riolo on his bench, so this looks like I would expect the Zoroark version that Stefan used to make finals in Melbourne, because it has the Riolo, so there's hardly any reason not to include Lycanroc as well, because Lycanroc is just such an amazing versatile Pokemon.
We're still waiting for the deck.
And actually I see a Lycanroc at the top of this deck, so it's fine. So it's definitely Zoroark, Lycanroc, Lucario. Probably very similar to how Stefan built it. It's actually very interesting that he's going for a Riolo right away. Like, he used a communication. He could have gotten... actually his second Tapu Lele's priced and he opened one of them, so that's very unfortunate for him. So no Lily or Professor Elm, depending on what he's playing as an engine.
Oh, and we get the deck list, so we have 100% confirmation. Camille is playing Lycanroc as well.
Yeah, it looks very similar to what Stefan played. We will see. He has a few changes, so we will see how they affect the game.
Oh, I was so happy about Camille's deck list being in English, even though he is French. But then I looked at Gustavo's deck list, and it seems to be Portuguese.
Oh well. we will figure this out. We can just, we see which Pokemon he has, right? These Lightning decks aren't usually aren't too different. So it's
GX.
It's typically the same game plan. Either they go aggressive, take easy prizes early on, or they just or they go for a more slower strategy where they set up a huge threat like a Pikachu Zekrom with 6 energy, which sounds slow, but it's actually quite fast.
Yeah, but and we see Gustavo attacking with the Zapdos, taking down the first little
He uses a Guzma and abuses the free retreat of his Jolteon to just retreat into Zapdos again and to knock out one of the Riolus of Camille. Now, as I mentioned, this Riolu was a pretty interesting pick, because like usually you would expect someone to pick Zoroark turn 1 to get your engine going, but instead he just... Oh, he actually went for Riolu. Also, it's interesting that he used Mallow, put 2 cards on top, and now he uses Paw Pad to shuffle his deck again, so he only drew 1 of them. So it's probably... I would expect the card he got from the top to be a Cynthia here, to shuffle his hand back and get some new cards going. Oh, actually it's a Lily.
Interesting.
So he just thinned his deck for 1 card, but... So he's drawing 1 more card, but he's getting a random card instead of 1 specific card he picked there. So that's an interesting choice.
The card was just not good.
Yeah, I mean, he could pick any card and put it on top with his Mallow.
Yeah,
so
true.
So if he had planned this, it couldn't have been a bad card, but perhaps he just planned for something else, like attacking with Lucario this turn, and
maybe he put 2 Lucario on top. Or
yeah, something like that. 2 Lucario probably unlikely, because you can only use the attack. The attack only deals a lot of damage in the turn you evolve it.
Yeah.
So evolving more than 1 per turn doesn't make much sense. But yeah, it could have been anything, and maybe it was just now that Gustavo took a knockout not very relevant anymore. Camille wanted to change and instead took a random card.
So we need Ditto Prism. We see Ditto Prism Star going to the bench.
Unfortunately,
definitely a strong card.
Unfortunately for Camille, he whiffed the energy to attack with Lucario. Yeah, but Ditto Prism, as you mentioned, is a very strong card. It's also very important. It can be evolved into an Alolan Mug. Interestingly though, Camille opts to put the Ditto down early on. I mean, this is of course because he didn't drew many Pokemon. This is unfortunate to him. But usually you would wait with the Ditto Prism to put it down in the same turn as the Alolan Grimer. Because this way you have 2 Pokemon and you are safe to get a Alolan Mug next turn. So that your opponent can only knock out 1 and then you evolve the other and get your Alolan Mug, which is very important in those matchups. But yeah, as he didn't draw many basics, he wants the Ditto just to get anything at all. We're seeing him sending...
Maybe he's also saving it to be a Zoroark, so he has a Zoroark next turn.
Yeah, exactly, because if Camille has a Guzma again, knocks out his only Zoroark, he can't get going, so he's basically saying, okay, if you have a Guzma, alright, you can take my Ditto, at least I get a Zoroark, at least I get something.
At least I can start trading, drawing into some cards, starting my setup. But let's look on Gustavo's side again. He's powering up his Jolteon GX. It's ready to attack, if I'm not entirely wrong.
Yeah,
and we see the Guzma.
Now he can just take the knockout with the Jolteon. Its second attack does 110 damage, and this way he won't have to. He will have a sure way to attack next turn with Jolteon. Also, like Camille evolved his Riolu last turn to have a big Pokemon with more HP to gain some time to have something active.
Oh,
so
we see.
He's considering it. He's not sure. I personally think the Jolteon can't really be punished because Camille doesn't have a Lycanroc or a Riolu on his board, so he can't knock it out anyways. He could attack it with a Zoroark, but
I mean that would be 60 damage.
Yeah, that's just it would be a 2-shot on a Jolteon with fighting weakness, and I think Gustavo should definitely be fine with that.
Yeah.
Because fighting weak Pokemon, he's expect to get 1-shots on these. And yeah, Camille has a Cynthia here, so at least he has something. Unfortunately, no Zoroark yet. He already used 2 Pokemon communication as well. I think he's not playing Timer Ball, at least I would definitely not expect him to.
Camille?
So, yeah.
No, he's not.
Yeah, so he doesn't have too many outs on his Zoroark, but of course he has 4 Zoroark for Ultra Ball, so that can work out just fine as well. And yeah, we see him draw a Zoroark there, so that's nice.
Oh, you managed to see that with this little side of his hand?
Oh, yes. I see a Zoroark anywhere. 5 miles difference, 5 miles distance, no problem.
Can you smell them?
Not quite. Cards don't smell that much. But yeah, he got a Zoroark as well, so this is pretty nice. This board's starting to look better. The Diancie unfortunately not doing much. He's probably just putting it down to deal a bit more damage. It might turn out to be a liability later on, because with Lucario's already not doing anything, the Tapu Lele's not doing anything, and the Diancie isn't doing anything as well, so Camille's basically operating with 3 bench slots at this point. They have 3 Pokemon slots in general, 2 bench slots and 1 active.
Yeah. We'll see how this will work out for Camille.
Yeah, Gustavo on the other side opts to send out his Jirachi to get some more items, and incredible, he gets the 3rd Guzma in a row, so he will be able to get a knockout on this Zoroark and further race ahead.
Poor Camille.
He will be 3 prizes ahead. Camille on the other side, only 1 Zoroark in play, lots of useless Pokemon on the bench.
I mean, look at this cute, innocent Jirachi, and it's like, I'm cute, but I'll get you whatever you need to destroy your opponent.
It can be so devastating. Getting this Jirachi ability every turn, it's just so strong. And yeah, he takes the knockout with the Zapdos this time, not opting to use Jolteon's GX attack, probably saving the GX attack for something like a Tapu Koko Prism, which can be very useful later on.
And we see Rockruff on the bench, but does he has the energy?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he has one in his hand already, but this energy is actually an interesting thing because it can be punished as well. Because 3 energies, that's 150 for Tapu Koko's GX attack, so with just a Choice Band and an Electro Power, that would be a knockout on the Zoroark and basically the game for Gustavo.
Oh.
We've seen Gustavo last turn saving that GX attack of Jolteon, because he can just attack with the Zapdos, of course. Not wanting to use the Jolteon, but yeah. It's also quite a lot asked, and I'm still not sure if the Tapu Koko is maybe priced for Gustavo.
So what would happen if he attacked the energy? Explain a little bit slower, please.
The Tapu Koko GX attack does 50 damage for each energy your opponent has in play, right? So with the 3rd energy, that's already 150, and with Choice Band and Electro Power, that's 210 on the Zoroark. But
yes.
So attaching an energy here is of course a necessity. Camille has to do something, he has to get in this game. 3 energy he calculates with having 3 energy on board. That's just the standard for him. But Gustavo might punish that play.
Well, but anyways, it does not look like he has an energy in hand, so...
Interestingly, I was pretty sure he had one last time, but yeah, he trades into it. And he also got a Zoroark again. Maybe this time he might survive longer. Oh, also oh no, it's an Absol, okay. Yeah, unfortunately for Camille, he has a full bench now. This means he won't shut Gustavo's ability down. His Absol is prized, his Ditto Prism Star was knocked out. Should be in the Lost Zone actually, but doesn't really matter. And yeah, he doesn't have bench space for his Grimer, so we won't see a little Alolan Mug, we won't see an Absol, and with that being the Jirachi will probably show its devastating power.
Yeah, Jirachi going for a Choice Band.
Yeah, he will be able to use his Jirachi basically every turn in this game, getting everything he needs.
Energy on the Tapu Lele GX.
That's an interesting choice. So he's probably going to use the GX attack of Jolteon this turn. It prevents any damage done to it next turn from your opponent's Pokemon, so it's just stalling out a bit, and it's taking a knockout on this Rockruff. Being 3 prizes ahead now.
Yeah, he's only got 2 more prizes to take, so he's only a Tapu Lele KO away from his win.
On the bright side for Camille, this takes the Tapu Koko threat away because the GX attack's gone now, so he can attach energies to his liking without having fear of punishment. Also, he has his Zoroark was knocked out finally, so he can get another Zoroark. So if he gets another Zoroark in play, he might also get an Alolan Grimer this turn. He can take the knockout to go down to 3 prizes as well, have 2 Zoroark and maybe get the Alolan, we'll receive a Alolan Grimer, so next turn he might get a Alolan Mug, and maybe he can get those Ace Rollers chained, having the lockdown, having the seal ability, can definitely enable him to make a comeback.
That's a lot to ask for, given the fact that Camille didn't really had the time to thin out his deck.
Yeah, that's true for sure. And he only has a Guzma, no very usable supporter. And we see just 3 Electro Power and a Choice Burn from Gustavo.
Wow!
Taking a crazy knockout here with an otherwise pretty poor hand, it seems. Not much useful stuff for him, but exactly what he needed. Exactly what he needed and nothing more.
Yeah, I mean, what more can you ask for?
Yeah, it's a game. It's a game quite quickly in a few turns. We've seen with Jolteon do quite a lot of work, but mainly because it just doesn't require as much as the Zapdos does. With constant switching, the Jolteon can just attack for 110 damage without any drawbacks. And this was all Gustavo needed.
So having one of the biggest Zoroark GX fans here, how should Camille optimally approach this matchup?
Well, first of all, don't price your Tapu Lele and open with the other. That's a good start. Get some good supporter turn 1, get some basics down. That would be good as well. he had to put down a lot of useless Pokemon, so optimally he just wants to get his setup without falling too much behind, and then put down Ditto Prism Star and Alolan Grime on the same turn, so that Gustavo might take a knockout on one of them.
I see.
But he has the other one to evolve into an Alolan Mug. And yeah, he has Riolu and Rockruff to cover a big Pikachu Zekrom threat from Gustavo. It's a card I would expect from his deck, because having this Jolteon showed that he's playing more GX Pokemon in his deck. He doesn't focus on a solo non-GX deck.
Yeah, I see.
Like many of other Zapdos decks. Okay, they're not entirely solo non-GX because they usually have a Tapu Koko GX.
Yeah, but you don't want to play it early.
Yeah, you usually use it like Joe Bernard tried in the last round to take your last 2 prizes, and other than that, no.
You want to hide it as long as you can.
Yeah, we see Camille's prizes this time better. At least he will be.
Gustavo has 3 Ultra Balls and 1 Nest Ball prize and 1 Jirachi. That's unfortunate.
Yeah, that's a lot of his Pokemon search, and a very poor opening for Camille. He opens with a Tapu Lele again, which is already definitely not optimal, and he has nothing but a Rockruff and an Energy.
And that was his turn.
Yeah, he just passes and gives over to Gustavo.
I mean, looking at his deck list, is that Stefan's deck list from OCIC? Do you know?
Yeah, it mainly is. He plays an Alolan Grimer, which Stefan didn't have. The Pokemon line is otherwise the same. I think he cut a Cynthia, if I'm not mistaken. Also, he only plays 1 Acerola, which is interesting, as it is such a key card in this matchup. He also has a few different trainer counts, but in general, it's mainly the same. Oh, but Gustavo on the other side had a very weak turn as well.
Oh, we see my boy Pikachu here. Finally.
Now here we see interesting plays. Gustavo didn't do anything but attach 1 energy and pass. And Camille had a supporter, but he didn't do much of it, other than a Lycanroc and an energy. So at least he has this big fighting threat going. And that can take a knockout of this Pikachu Zekrom for 3 prizes. And Gustavo also putting down with Zoroark, no fear of those fighting attackers.
I mean,
Camille,
he has to. And we see Electro Power being played.
He probably wants to make sure to retreat with Pikachu Zekrom. Oh, actually he has the Thunder Mountain, so it's not unlikely. We definitely see a knockout here. He already played an Electro Power, so yeah, Full Blitz will take a knockout on the Tapu Lele. He played an Electro Power, that's 180 damage. Yeah. That's the knockout, and he can search out 3 Lightning Energies and attach them to one of his Pokemon.
That's huge.
And he chooses the Zoroark.
Of course he does.
And Camille now...
he's in a bad position. He needs to get something on his bench.
Yeah, he can... If he gets a Choice Band, he can get a knockout here. Or a Diancie would do the trick as well. But he doesn't have any other bench Pokemon, and the Zoroark deals 160 damage. So with a Choice Band and an Electro Power or multiple Electro Powers, that's an easy knockout as well. But yeah, Camille just doesn't have anything,
Gustavo Wada won the series.
That's a very unfortunate 2 games for Camille.
Unfortunate. Yeah.
These Zoroark deck typically used to be very consistent, but yeah, they are, as I mentioned earlier on stream already.
Very unfortunate.
Yeah, exactly. The biggest problem of Zoroark decks is just surviving these early few turns. Once you get going, once you have multiple Zoroark, maybe get the Smug lockdown on your opponent, you are very strong. You can lock your opponent down, you can do anything you want, and you can basically control the game entirely from there. But if you stumble, if your opponent gets those crucial early knockouts, it doesn't look good for you. And yeah, just like we've seen, Gustavo was able to put up pressure to keep it going.
He also had an insane start in this matchup.
Yeah, the turn 2 full blitz is just an amazing in general. It's extremely powerful. In other matchups, he could have just charged up with Zekrom, used the GX attack next turn to take 2 knockouts, potentially 4 prizes already.